The black man putting on a dress conversation.
You talking to a black man that put on a dress?
Mm-hmm.
That conversation to me it's silly because it's a negative thing that is only in black people.
It was never okay, but it's even more critical right now, Baba, because as you know, there's a whole transgender agenda against our children. So when black boys see a masculine black man who they've been looking up to most of their life suddenly dress up like a woman and come on television within the context of them already being, bombarded with all this transgender propaganda.
Let me see, someone's getting ready to come on here. Who's admitting? Let's see, who we getting to admit here? Is that Dr. Johnson? Hey, there he is, Dr. Umar. So anyhow,
greetings, Baba. Greetings. Peace and Pan-Africanism.
Yes, sir. Peace. Good afternoon. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm well. I am well.
Good.
Dave, I'm going to say hello.
Yes.
It's good to see you again. You're looking good as usual. This is Janina.
Yes. Oh,
I
he's
just wanted to say hello.
Mother, looking well as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm going to slide on out of here.
Okay.
So you guys can take care of business, but I'm going to be listening.
Thank you so much, Janina.
All right, no problem.
Yes.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson, for joining us here today. I was just mentioning that I went to the Clarion Hotel at the Philadelphia airport to hear your speaking engagement there a couple of weeks ago and how fabulous you were. In fact, you're fabulous every time you speak, every time I hear you speak, whether it's on YouTube, because you do a lot of stuff on YouTube. Not you do a lot of stuff on YouTube, but they replay a lot of your stuff on YouTube, and I watch it frequently so that I can hear what you have to say. I know when you were at the Clarion, you said that you were on your way to California to do a show with Nick Cannon. How did that go?
Yes, sir. Nick Cannon has a new show coming out called Council Culture. He said he wanted to push back against the cancel culture of American society and the black community in particular, where when people don't agree with you or if you make a mistake, they just want to cancel you altogether. So he said we need to start counseling people instead of canceling people. And so his new show is going to be called Council Culture. It's almost set up, Baba, where it's like a therapy couch. And it's, he has it looking like a counseling room, a counseling station. And he brings topics up and we discuss it. And I think we had a great conversation, Bob. I think the Nick Cannon interview is going to be one for the ages. I just felt that we really, were both humble. We didn't come from our ego, even though we disagreed on several of the topics, interracial dating, the use of the N-word, black celebrities wearing dresses in Hollywood. We was at the opposite ends of the spectrum on our perceptions, but it was a very good, very balanced conversation between Nick Cannon and I. So I'm looking forward to him putting that out. I'm waiting on him to let me know when and where and how people can actually see it.
So does he suggest that you be part of the show as a psychiatrist?
I don't know. I was wondering about that. I think he's going to see how it's received first, but I do suspect he may have me back on there a few more times.
I'm certain. And speaking about men in dresses, I was just watching Marlon Wayans. He was trying to defend men in dresses. He was talking about, we had Flip Wilson and he named some other white comedians. And I was saying to myself, you can name all you want. I still don't see the necessity of putting men in dresses where they can put women in dresses.
The black man putting on a dress conversation.
You talking to a black man that put on a dress? That conversation to me it's silly because it's a negative thing that is only in black people. We have, for some reason, been programmed to look down on the craziest parts about our experience, that we're supposed to not embrace our past, not embrace our history, not embrace our heroes, not embrace our different levels of comedy, that we have to be this way. When Robin Williams puts on a dress and is Mrs. Doubtfire, he gets nominated for an Oscar and white people think it's brilliant. His community embraces him. When Dustin Hoffman puts on a dress in Tootsie and he wins an Oscar, he's labeled brilliant. When black people put on dresses, all of a sudden we're labeled by our own people like something negative. And I'm like, we did White Chicks. That's a classic movie. It's a classic. I don't care what nobody says. It's a classic.
Everyone says it's a classic.
That whole thing about, you know, you put on a dress and you selling out, that is not an artist's mindset. When you're an artist, you know, you go out and you create art.
You can name all you want. I still don't see the necessity of putting men in dresses where they can put women in dresses.
Especially at this time, because first of all, I don't think it was ever appropriate, because as you know, from an African cultural perspective, you know, God is very particular, you know, with regard to what spirit he puts in a female body versus what spirit he puts into a male body. So in our culture, coming from a perspective of complementarity and the balance of polarity, you know, it's a serious spiritual infraction against the divine for a man to misrepresent himself as a woman and vice versa. So it was never okay, but it's even more critical right now, Baba, because as you know, there's a whole transgender agenda against our children. So when black boys see a masculine black man who they've been looking up to most of their life suddenly dress up like a woman and come on television within the context of them already being, you know, bombarded with all this transgender propaganda in school and society, I think it can end up opening up some curiosity that can lead to a lot of our sons getting trapped into that lifestyle.
Yeah, it makes them think that it's okay. They're trying to make it
Absolutely.
so, they're trying to normalize it. And they paint it on really heavy now today, more than ever before. In fact, they not only doing it here in America, they're going to African countries, trying to normalize it there as well. Now, in your travels to Africa, have you run into that people?
I do know that Ghana and Nigeria, I do believe that they have had LGBTQ pride parades. I do know there is a movement in South Africa that's growing, pushing the LGBTQ. But as you and I know, this is nothing but population control in disguise. But unfortunately, too many of our young people don't understand that this is nothing more than genocide under another name. And I don't know what it's going to take for black people to wake up and smell the coffee. I mean, when your child undergoes sexual reassignment surgery, Baba, they remove the testicles and the ovaries. They remove them. And if you ever decide that you want to revert back to your natural God-given gender, you won't be able to reproduce yourself.
Wow.
I can't believe we are literally letting children sterilize themselves in the name of gender fluidity. It's ridiculous.
Wow. And you mentioned a moment ago about spirituality, and I heard one of your speaking engagements where you said that Caucasians have no souls. Could you tell us about
Yes,
that?
indeed. Or I doubt whether they do, because I don't see how they could possibly engage in the behavior that they have for the past 500 years and have a soul. Because if you have a soul, you have a natural, internal, ethical standard in judge. Your soul, you will feel guilty and shameful for doing bad things to people. And when you're able to override, you know, your soul, you know, then that you're talking about a psychopathic personality, you know, somebody who can kill without remorse. You have overridden your soul. But in the case of Caucasians, they've been doing what they've been doing so uniformly, so collectively, so for so long, you got to question whether they have a soul. If they do, it has to be a very underdeveloped soul, because I don't see how anybody's soul could let them do the things that the Caucasian race has been capable of this past 500 years.
Well, I believe that they may not even believe themselves in a heaven or a hell. They just try to push that through a religion, but don't necessarily believe it themselves. And so they figure, well, why should I be concerned about morality or sin when there is no heaven or no hell?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Baba. You know, one of the reasons I was late, Baba, to the call is I was going through an emergency divination with my Babalawo regarding the upcoming Brenda Deppa sentencing protest that we have scheduled in Bunel, Florida. Remember last time I was on, we talked about Brendan Deppa, the 17-year-old who attacked his teacher's aide.
That's right.
And has been charged as an adult and has been sitting in prison since February 21st. And his sentencing week will be on January 31st, this coming Wednesday. And we're planning a rally, Baba. And Brendan's attorney, the attorney that his white adoptive parents have selected, he had petitioned the judge to delay the sentencing because he wants to have some experts testify or try to mitigate whatever sentence the judge is going to try to, hand down. And I believe he argued that the experts didn't have enough time to review the case, so he wants the judge to delay it. But the judge has not responded yet. So we don't know if the judge is going to delay it or not. We suspect, Baba, that this petition by the attorney, although it may be in Brendan's best interest, we suspect that it might also have been done to sabotage our protest at the last minute because he's been sitting in jail for a minute. Why did you wait till a week before sentencing to ask the judge to delay the sentence, the sentencing date? Yeah, so we think this is probably some sort of strategy to undermine the rally. But anyway, I got a divination on whether we should proceed with the rally if the judge delays the sentencing hearing. And my Babalawo, in collaboration with the Oracle, Ifa Orumila in the Yoruba tradition, I was told by Spirit that if the judge delays the hearing, we should not rally that day. So everybody who's listening to this conversation right now, I'm also going to do a post on social media. I haven't had time to do that because I wanted to jump right on a call with you when I was done the divination. So I'm fresh off of divination, fresh out of contact with the universe. And I just want everybody to know that we're going to pay attention to what the judge does Monday or Tuesday. If the judge postpones Brendan Deppa's sentencing hearing, there will be no rally on Wednesday. If he does not postpone and the Brendan Deppa sentencing hearing is proceeding on Wednesday, we will rally Wednesday. So it all depends on what the judge says. If he says he's going forward Wednesday, we will be there. If he's delaying the hearing on Wednesday to another date, we will not be there.
That's amazing because you said they're trying to give him 30 years in prison.
That's the maximum, Baba. He can get 30 years for punching the teacher's aide. And of course, we don't condone violence against any woman, black, white, red, yellow, or brown, but we do have trouble understanding and comprehending how a 17-year-old child at the time of the offense, who was not getting what he should have got, who was basically wronged himself, mistreated himself, under-supported himself, should have never been in that school in the first place, given the severity of his mental illnesses, Baba. We don't understand how he can go to jail for the same amount of time as the white woman in the same state of Florida who shot and murdered our sister A.J. Owens by shooting her with a gun through a locked metal door. She can also get a maximum of 30 years. How can they be the same, Bob?
Yeah. When I come, we got to take a break, but when we come back, you talked about, we talked a little bit about spirituality, and you mentioned divination there. I'm very familiar with divinations because I participated in some with the Bible hours as well. But if you could just briefly let our audience know what divination is, and
sure,
maybe then they may be encouraged to participate themselves. But we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation here online with Dr. Umar Ifa Johnson. We'll be right back. On the phone line with us is Dr. Umar Ifa Johnson, certified child psychologist and one of the most sought-after international speakers of our time. And welcome back, Dr. Johnson. Before we took the break, I had mentioned that you had talked about divinations, and I have participated in numerous divinations, have been to numerous bimbes as well. And sometimes some people get spooked by terms like that and things like that because they just don't understand. If you could explain to us, our listeners, briefly some of the meanings of divination.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, from the Yoruba perspective, when God created the universe, whom we refer to as Olodumare, which means owner of the source of all creation. So when the Almighty created the universe, he created several divinities. And one of those divinities is named Orun Mila, O-R-U-N-M-I-L-L-A, Orun Mila. Orun is heaven. Mila is messenger. So Orun Mila is the messenger of heaven. He is the oracle of the spiritual system known as Ifa. Orun Mila is also known as Iliri Ipin, which means witness to destiny. Because Orun Mila was allowed by the Almighty to witness the creation of everything, Orun Mila knows the destiny of everything. So when you are living your life, which has a purpose and a function that was given to you in heaven before you incarnated and was birthed through your mother. During the birthing process, the trauma of childbirth, we lose the memory of what our Ifa is, or our destiny, or our purpose, or our contract with Almighty God. Through divination, we are able to recover the knowledge and memory of what our purpose is in life during this particular incarnation, because we've been here before and we will be here again. And so divination is like a compass to someone who is lost in the wilderness. You take out your compass and it lets you know, are you going north? Are you going south? Are you going east? Are you going west? Well, if you're going to freedom with Harriet Tubman, you need to be going north. So you need that compass to keep you on your path. Divination is all about keeping you on your path. We get divinations from time to time, and always before we make important decisions, like going to the Brendan Depper protest in Bunnell, Florida, Wednesday, because we want to make sure our decisions are in alignment with our highest destiny. And so the Babalawo will ask Orunmila, who is the custodian of destiny and wisdom. The priest will ask Orunmila to reveal your destiny and reveal whether or not the decisions you are about to make are in alignment with your highest destiny. And so in the divination I just had with the Babalawo, he revealed that Orunmila has communicated to me through the Babalawo, who is trained and initiated as a priest of Ifa, that if the judge decides to delay the sentencing hearing for Brendan Depper, it will not be in alignment with Dr. Umar Ifa Tunde Oguntade's. It will not be in alignment with my highest destiny, nor will it be in the best interest of those who are coming to support the young brother. It is not wise for us to proceed with the rally on Wednesday, January the 31st, if it is postponed. If it is not postponed, it is perfectly okay and in alignment with my highest destiny to attend.
And the main reason that I wanted you to explain that is because I'm certain that you had divinations on starting the Marcus Garvey Frederick Douglass School. And that is why I say people don't understand. You know, this is really, you know, you didn't have a lot of choice in this matter. You know, if you was destined to do this, and people talk this often about, not often, sometimes people say, well, he's a kind artist. I see somebody's, Charles White, he's begging. I say the brother ain't begging. He's doing what he is destined to do, you know, and the guys have determined that you are the one to bring this about.
Wow, it's amazing, Baba. You know, what's funny too, and of course, you know, divinations are largely personal. That one had to be made public because it involves the people. But something else that came out in my divination today, Baba, that I don't mind sharing, was the fact that one of the reasons why we've struggled so much with FDMG is because there was some spiritual work I need to receive that I had inadvertently delayed, Baba, that also caused the school process to be delayed. And so I have to meet with the Babalawo very, very soon to get some of this spiritual work done to open up my destiny to receive some of the good fortune and the blessings that are in store for me and the school after this work is completed. So I'm glad I got the divination about the protests, because it also brought some information about the completion of FDMG. And as you know, we tipping right around the finish line anyway. But to really guarantee, you know, that everything goes according to plan, there's some spiritual work that I need to get done at the top of next month. And
as I mentioned previously, that a lot of people look at it as spookism and demonic. But they don't understand.
Because the major world religions, Baba, in order to keep you loyal, we got to be very clear. And this is no disrespect to the world religions, because we respect them all. I was raised in Islam and Christianity, you know, nothing but respect. If that's what someone feels they need for this lifetime, so be it. I take no issue. But in order for those religions to keep you loyal, Baba, they have to use fear. Fear is the most potent weapon of the major world religions. You are, you know, threatened with hell. You're threatened with eternal damnation. You're threatened by not being blessed by God. You're threatened, you know, by not receiving the protection if you dare entertain any other spiritual pathway to divine consciousness. And it is the fear and the guilt that keeps so many African people from investigating, looking into, reading, studying, or even experiencing the wonderful world of traditional African spirituality. And it's a shame, Baba, because I believe one of the reasons we're not winning this war against white supremacy is we're not tapping into the ashe of our ancestors. I believe with all my heart that one of the reasons we're losing is we have turned our back on our traditional African spirituality. We have turned our back on divination, getting answers from God or from God's divinities directly regarding our situation. We are not employing the wisdom and ashe of our ancestors. We're not making sure we're walking the path of our own personal and collective destinies. We're not tapping into divine female energy. There's so much we are losing out on by not looking into African spirituality, and I think it plays a role into why we're still oppressed.
Now, we are still oppressed, but does it mean that we are destined to fail? Or
I don't think so. I think because God is eternal, I believe the universe itself may very well be eternal as well, Baba. And I believe that God is going to let us suffer until we gain the wisdom, insight, and respect for our own traditional spiritual culture to practice Sankofa, which is go back and get your spiritual heritage and practice it. So whether that's going to take us another 500 years, whether that's going to take us 1,000 years, however long it's going to take us, God is going to leave us dumb, deaf, and blind in the wilderness of North America and white supremacy until we tap into our spirituality to help us in this. Tapping into the spirituality isn't going to solve the problem. It's going to give us the keys through which we can solve the problem. And so the question is, how long are we going to wait before we recognize that Islam, Christianity, and Hebrewism, although we respect them and they're beautiful, they don't have all the answers, that there's some wisdom and some power that we need to get from our own native continent and from our own native spiritual traditions.
And I also believe that the universe is eternal as well, because if there's a war against black people going on right now, and if they want to try to eliminate us, you know, who's going to be left to succeed?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
you know, I know for me, Baba, you know, I've been studying, practicing Ifa since 2011, you know, when I first went to the Oyotunji African village, which was motivated by what I went through in the slave dungeon of Goree Island, Senegal back in 2005, my first trip to Africa as UNIA ACL Minister of Education. And that experience in the slave dungeon, or in my hotel room the night after going to the slave dungeon, forever changed my life. And it's what brought me to African spirituality, which is why we don't recruit. You know, in African spirituality, we don't recruit. You know, we don't do what the Muslims and the Christians do, all due respect to them. They go out and they recruit people. We don't do that. You know, your ancestors bring you to this tradition. You know, when you start getting that inquisitive mind within you, that restlessness that says go out and study and search for more. And a lot of our people get that internal, you know, spark from their soul that says go and search. But because of the psychological brainwash, because of the guilt, the shame, you know, the brainwash, the social control of religion, you know, it keeps a lot of our people from going out to reclaim their spiritual heritage, even when their spirit is constantly knocking them upside the head, saying, go back and fetch what's yours.
I remember when Iyanla Van Zant was here in Philadelphia, and I used to study under her through my wife, Imani Ife, and it was then that I changed my direction. You know, I had thought that just being African was enough, but I found that it wasn't enough because she taught us how to tap into our spirit, which allowed us to have a much better direction. We got to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation here in the studios of WURD with Dr. Umar Ife Tunde Johnson. I want everybody to stick and stay. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back.